Good afternoon, everybody. This is Jeff J. Brown, China Rising Radio Sinoland in Normandy, France, on the beaches of D-Day. And this one's not about D-Day, although you should read that article or listen or watch my podcast called Pretty Dark Secrets of D-Day. It's been an amazing 2 months here. We leave this weekend and get back to Shenzhen on Monday the 19th. So it's been quite a summer. Today's podcast article is really interesting and very thought-provoking. It is entitled Upside Down or Right Side Up, Comparing Chinese versus Western Civilizational Hierarchies. Pictured above, there's a chart that I created actually when I taught middle school kids. Pictured above, no wonder Chinese and Westerners don't understand each other. Look at the world and their societies with diametrically opposed points of view. It's like two people staring at each other through the opposite ends of a telescope. Everything is distorted. To paraphrase the great American poet Robert Frost, that, my friends, makes all the difference. But before starting, if you have not already done so, reading/listening to/watching my two recent posts comparing Chinese and Western governance make this one much more meaningful. Here we go. Westerners can live and work in China for years and not see the obvious. I should know since I was one of them. We Occidentals are so brainwashed from birth, at home, in school, by government, media, advertising, our moral superiority over all those, quote, other, end of quote, dark-skinned kind of sort of people. It's easy to not see the trees in the proverbial forest of life. This is how I was when living here from 1990 to 1997. Even after living and working for 21 years outside the U.S., mostly in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, I was still blinded by my racism of Western cultural and moral superiority, a liberaloid do-gooder wrapped up in identity politics, thinking I was better than most of my less cosmopolitan countrymen. Sad to say, I wasn't much better. It was not until we came back to China in 2010 the scales of racism finally fell from my eyes. This painful and humbling, ultimately liberating experience is tracked through the 3 books of the China trilogy. See below. Looking at the above comparative chart and going back to the times of the ancient Greeks, the quintessential Marlboro man has been the fixture of Western civilization. Me, myself, and I, free and unfettered, independent and on one's own to decide one's destiny. Being an adventurer and warrior/gunslinger also fits the bill. Greek tales like Jason and the Argonauts, Iliad and the Odyssey, the swashbuckling myths of the deities slaughtering monsters, who are now today's inferior, dreaded others, all extol the virtues of solo man. Family comes next, and even that is often contested and dysfunctional in the West. Help out a family member? Maybe, maybe not. It seems like every Western family I've ever gotten to know well, starting with mine, is rife with communication and contact being between members cut off. Individual peeves and grudges trump trying to keep the family intact. Working our way down this civilizational hierarchy, support for the neighborhood, city, province, and country can happen, but frequently on my terms and not in my backyard. How dare you encroach on my freedoms? While citizens can be easily brainwashed with God and the flag to fight in endless wars for rape, resources, and plunder, with the price for the long term eventually being societal collapse. For millennia, at the bottom of the Western shit heap is the government and leaders. You can't blame your Anglo-landers for not trusting or respecting their governments, since they usually act like gangsters, stealing from the 99%, sending the latter to die like dogs in wars of expansion, exploitation, and extraction, all to enrich their elite 1% masters. Organized criminals posing as leaders and governments masking cartels, standard operating procedure. It's happening while I write. In spite of all the pitfalls, it's easy to see why Western hierarchy solo man is so intoxicating and flattering. What could be more important than me? One's horizon in life is simplified. Myself and I. Concentrate the need and take the complexity and nuance out of the equation. Life becomes linear. Point A to point B. I'll do whatever the hell I want, Bubba. Get back, Jojo. It's my space. Out of my way. This is my lane. Friend in need is fucked indeed. What's in it for me? The world is my oyster. Of course, I should be able to wear a gun around town to protect myself. I've got individual rights. And Rand's rational self-interest. Gordon Gekko's greed is not just good. Greed is God. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine, so you're screwed. Might and treachery make right. Finders, keepers, losers, weepers. Laissez-Faire, baby. Dog eat dog, the big dominate the little, the rich steal from the poor. Being entertained and amused becomes paramount. Mass production and superconsumption are in more. Making personal sacrifices is decidedly uncool, as is delayed gratification. It's easy to see why the Western paradigm Marlboro Man dovetails so perfectly with capitalism, neoliberalism, and colonialism. Now, in China, flip the West's social hierarchy upside down. Suddenly, you are no longer Mr. and Mrs. Me. Welcome to being at the very bottom of civilization's needs. Look up. Your life is no longer simple and linear, but complex and elliptical. Tapestry of interconnections and expectations. Just in the family alone, moms, dads, and grandparents' needs trump yours. Older relatives too. What's mine is also my family's. If you slack off, then how is the family supposed to care for the neighborhood? We all want to live in a nice town/city, don't we? Here's the start. Daily life becomes very intricate, cyclical, and circular, giving and taking. This is not my lane, but everybody else's too. Since life is so interwoven and interdependent, solidarity and helping others becomes the ideal. Suddenly, social harmony and peaceful coexistence are everything. And I have to share? I have many responsibilities to my community and country? You mean I should help the government and our leaders to work effectively and keep the nation intact and prosperous? You bet your stinky tofu you do. Tofu, I'm sorry. It's easy to see that being a Chinese citizen is a much bigger daily responsibility. The expectations of the many over the wants of the individual so much greater than in Western civilization. Your Anglo-landers often feel superior over Chinese families. They see young children here being loud, boisterous, and spoiled rotten. So they are for a few years. It's the one time in their lives when they get to enjoy some of that solo man, me, myself, and I. Because by the time they get to first grade in school, China's civilizational hierarchy starts to kick in. The expectations of everyone around them begin to weigh on their societal shoulders. 5 or 6 years, they get to run wild a little bit. Now it's time to knuckle down and take their place on the bottom rung of the ladder. Since you're on the hook for family and the country's leaders and government, attributes like frugality and delayed gratification become the ideal. No wonder the Chinese have the highest savings rate of any large economy in the world. Even though buying personal gizmos and luxuries has never been higher, Baba Beijing is exhorting the masses to consume more to counteract the U.S.'s trade tariff trade tariff war, China's savings rate is still 46%. This compares to Americans' 17%. All in the family. Since everybody collectively is more important than you, is it any wonder that China is a communist socialist civilization, always has been? It goes without saying that the two above portrayed hierarchies are meant to be painted black and white, to show the overarching contrast. Of course, there are generous, giving Westerners who believe in social solidarity and economic justice. As well, there are Chinese who are selfish, greedy, and heartless. Yes, there are family feuds and estranged relatives. That's not the point. The point is the diametrically opposed societal expectations, ideals that are held up for inspiration and guidance. In the West, it's all about individualism and personal freedom. In China, it's all about mom, dad, mayor, governor, prime minister, and president who come first. That, my friends, makes all the difference. The Imperial West shattered China's civilizational hierarchy for 110 years. It flooded the country with opium, morphine, and heroin, 1839 to 1949. It was able to rape and plunder the people with lustful abandon. Since communist liberation in 1949, China's social hierarchy has been restored. Look at the comparative table at the beginning of this article one more time. Ask yourself, which country is going to succeed and prosper on the world stage to the 22nd century? I'll give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count. This is Jeff J. Brown signing out from China Rising Radio Sinoland in Armanche-les-Bains, Calvados, France. Have a wonderful evening.